Hey Mama, if you picked this video, it's probably because you and I have something in common. We both have too much on our to-do lists, and neither of us have enough time to do it. So I'm super excited to show you one of my favorite ways to systemize my mom life so that things are organized and able to stay under control even on the craziest of days. So join with me and let's talk Trello, the no-cost way to systemize your mom life. First, though, let me just tell you whose voice you're hearing right now. My name is Stephanie Iraggi, and I am a Jesus-loving, introverted, somewhat crunchy, and highly practical mom and the creator at mamashark.blog. I have 2 wonderful kids, and I've been married for about 13 years to my awesome husband, Jacob. And before I had kids, I owned a successful small business. And when I was pregnant with my firstborn, I made the decision to become a stay-at-home mom, and that was quite the transition, as any of you who have been in business and then shifted to motherhood know. And as the overwhelm of motherhood set in, I realized that owning a business and managing a home and a family actually have a lot in common. So I was carrying just as many and realistically a lot more responsibilities than I did, even when I owned and run my own company. But I learned that just like in a small business, there was a lot of need to figure out how to run things more efficiently. So I decided that that was going to be my mission. I was going to learn to do daily mom life more effectively. And so now I'm on a mission to figure out ways to do mom life smarter, faster, cheaper, and easier. And I share what I find with you through Mama Shark. So welcome to this talk about Trello. As I mentioned in the beginning, 2 of the problems of mom life are there's never enough time and there's always too much to do. There's a constant barrage of information, whether it's from your kids directly or things that your kids need to do or have done, or appointments or places to be, or things you need to cook or make or clean. There's just information coming from everywhere all the time. And the reality is, no matter how smart you are, you cannot keep all of this in your head. There's just too much information that's coming at us. So what we need a solution that's going to track all of the details. And it's something that's going to keep the details straight for us so that we don't have to try and remember all these different details about all the things that mom life involves. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at 3 things. First off is the basics of Trello. Second is some Trello board examples. And then 3 is where to find more if you decide that Trello is for you and you'd like to learn more and get started on managing your mom life using Trello. First off, let's take a look at what Trello is and kind of look at some of the basics so you can see how it works in general. So this is a Trello board. In order to sign up for Trello and see how it works, you can go to Trello.com and sign up for a free account, and you'll basically end up in this screen. It'll prompt you to start a new board, and here's where you end up. So I chose not to show you that part because it's pretty intuitive. Trello.com, sign up for a free account. There you go. And then once you do that, this is what you'll see. This is what a board looks like. This area here is called a board. And then within the board, your main components are going to be your lists. And let's see, we'll just make a list called Monday. And then within your list, you're going to have a card. And you can add a title to your card, like grocery shopping. It lets you make lots and lots of lists. I don't know that there's actually even a limit to how many you can put on there. So you can just keep on adding lists for however many lists you need within a board. A board's kind of like your main topic, and your lists are within that. So let's say, for the sake of example, I'm going to do on Monday, I'm going to call the doctor, go grocery shopping. On Tuesday, we're going to get haircuts. And on Wednesday, we're going to go on a play date. All right. So you can see how these lists just kind of grow with whatever categories you need. And then you can drag and drop them to wherever you need. So rearranging is really easy, which is key for mom life, of course, having flexibility. And then you can also move them this way. You can say move, and you can pick which board you want, what list you want it on, what position you want it in, and then it moves that way. So super easy to move. Also easy to copy. There you go. You can also archive it very easily. Then let's take a look at what they call the back of the card. So you click on the card, And here is where you can do all sorts of fun things. So you can type a description, you can add links, you can add pictures, you can add attachments. I mean, it's super cool, all the stuff that you can put in here very easily. They've even got formatting now, which is sweet. And then also you can write comments if there's things that you need to keep up with, that you just want to add little details that don't fit in here for whatever reason. You can also add members to the card. So if you and your spouse both have Trello and you want to share the load this way and kind of tag each other like, hey, can you do this? You can do that back and forth. This is designed, Trello is, to be for a workplace environment. And so it's designed to be very easy to communicate within the boards themselves and the cards themselves. So that's a really nice feature. I haven't honestly used it much because I'm the only one in my family that is using it right now. But nevertheless, it is a cool feature, and I have used it in some collaborations before. Next on the back of the card is labels. You can pick from lots of different colors of labels. You can see here. You can add a title to it, and you can add whatever label you want, whatever you want to call it. Then it appears up here. You can add more than one. You can add titles to them or just use colors. And that's an easy way to help sort things out. So let's say, you know what, let's put one on here of shopping. And I'll show you how that can be used later as well. Next up, there's checklists. You can call them whatever you want. And let's see, I can make my grocery shopping list here. Do some eggs, bread and milk. I can check them off. I can also make these into a card if I want it to be an entire card for itself. I could add somebody. This one you have to use the paid for, but so I don't. But you can, in theory, have the paid version and add members to checklists if you want to share a checklist. Same thing with dates if you want to have a due date for different items. You can also have multiple checklists, which is honestly pretty cool because you could actually have one for like produce and one for frozen, whatever you needed within that card. Next, you've got dates. So this you do not have to have the paid version for. You can assign dates and times, and you can set reminders if you choose. Let's just pick a date, and we'll save it. The date appears up here. You can check it off when it's complete. You can also move the date if you discover you need to change that. So if you are it needs a due date kind of person, you can do that really easily. And then next up is attachments. So you can do a link, or you can choose a file, and that will give you a way to display, and that will give you a way to keep track of different links for things. I actually use this a lot for keeping track of emails. I'll actually copy the link to the email that I need to respond to, and that way I can put it as an attachment in here, and then I can move that card to whatever day I need to remember to respond to that email. So super useful that way. I also enjoy using this ability to attach links for if I'm going to keep track of a list of things that I want to do with my kids, for example. I can have a list of museums or parks or things like that, and I can put the link within the card so that I don't have to remember what was that park that somebody told me about. I just go ahead and put it in my Trello board, and then it's there for whenever I need it. Next is covers. You can choose from different colors, or you can upload a cover image, or you can pick one. You can search for lots of different kinds. I'll just give you an example. So you can make it so it looks like this. You can kind of see it in the background, or you can make it so it covers the whole thing. One of the things that I like to do is I actually use this as a kind of a subject divider within my lists. And so I'll make a cover along these lines. And actually, let me show you an example. Like, let's say, well, no, not really errands. That's not a good one. at home stuff. I might create a cover for at home stuff, and then that might be where I put a list of the things that I need to do at home. So maybe I need to do all of this on Monday, but this is the stuff that's at home. So I kind of use it like a divider, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the basics of it. You can get fancier. I'll show you power-ups and automations in just a little bit. We've already talked about moving and copying, and you can also make templates out of different cards too. Again, you can do all sorts of stuff with this, but we're just going over the basics right now. All right, I'm going to move this over to this side of the screen, and we're going to take a look at a few more features. These 3 little dots over here lead you to some other fun things. Again, more than we're going to go into right now, but you can change the background. You can do pictures, you can do colors, all sorts of fun stuff there. And then there are automations, power-ups, labels, and stickers. And I'm going to show you, they've got buttons for them up here as well. There's the automations and the power-ups, and I'm going to show you that in just a minute. Filters. So this is where it can be really helpful if you need to prioritize what's on your list, because you can check the ones that are overdue, due soon, no, not due a particular day. You can get a particular label. You can also search a keyword, and it will filter for just the ones that have that keyword. Next up, we've got automations. So rules and buttons both are similar, except for the buttons go on the back of the card or the top of the board. Like they kind of hang out up here. So they are ones that you can just click and it does whatever the thing is. And it's going to do something based on a rule. So rules are basically if-then statements. So you select a trigger. There's a lot here, so I'm not going to go into every one for the sake of time, but you can see that there are lots of different things that can be the trigger that starts it, and then once it has something, let's just do an example one, then it's basically when this is triggered, you know, do this thing, and you just pick what it's going to do. And then you save it, and then whenever that trigger happens, this action happens. You can also add more than one action so that it goes even further. Next is power-ups. I've already got one power-up on this Trello board, which is the calendar power-up. It simply puts the things that have due dates onto the calendar and gives me a visual of the calendar that I can reference if I want. You can also add lots more power-ups. This can be anything from connecting to your Slack, your Gmail. They've got ones that sync to your Google Calendar. They've got, you can see over here, analytics and reporting, board utilities, communication, developer tools, marketing and social media. There's a ton of different power-ups on here. So I'm not going to go into them all, obviously, but if you need a tool, search for it there because it's probably there. So that's the basics of a Trello board. And now we're going to take a look at some examples. Now we're going to take a look at a few Trello board examples. There are many, many ways you can use Trello to help keep track of things within your mom life, but I'm just going to show you a few of my favorites, a little bit about how I use them, and then I'll show you after that some ways to get some of those boards as templates and get started on it yourself. So one of my favorite things to do with Trello is meal planning. There are as many ways as you can imagine to use this for meal planning. I probably have 10 different iterations of meal planning that I have done using Trello boards, just depending on how my brain is kind of working at that time and what my goals are. This is kind of my basic template. You can see I've got grocery lists. I've got prices there to kind of help me keep track of how much things are costing, so I can budget ahead of time how much I'm going to be spending or how much I need to keep it down to. You can see I've got different prices. I've got breakfast, snacks, lunches, dinners. I use it for inventorying. my pantry, fridge, and freezer so that I can use what we already have. But I also put recent meals over here so I can see what we've had lately. And again, I'm not going to go into detail on this one because there's just too much for the time that we have. But if you want to look into this more, I have a course called Master Your Menu, where I walk through like how to use this board and how to meal plan on a budget much more extensively. Next up, I've got a packing list. So this is one of my favorite boards for vacationing and taking trips. I have lists. I have them edited for my kids and for myself, but this is the basic, like, here's a packing list. And you can see they've got checklists within them. I've also made the use of a label so that I could put a label on cards that have things that I have to pack the day that we leave. I've also used the covers right here. I use this to pull down things that I've completely finished the list, just so I can easily see at a glance what needs to be done. But what I do with this list is I have a master packing board, and then I copy that board and I modify it for each trip. So I kind of always have my master to copy off of that has the main stuff, and then I can edit it if we're going to the beach or the mountains or grandma's or whatever the different trips are that we need different items for. And then I can just modify it and then work from that list when I'm actually packing. Saves me so much time, so much headache. And one of the things I like about it is when we are on the trip, if I discover that there's something that I wish we would have brought, I can always go back and add it to the list so that it will be there the next time we take that trip, or the next time we go on a trip in general. This is also one of the boards that I have available in my Launchpad, where I have a bunch of different free templates for Trello, so you can just download it and use it for yourself. And then it's very fully editable, so you can edit it to be exactly what your family needs, and then you'll have your own packing list if you want. Another example of how I use this is I use it for homeschool. This is not the current iteration that I'm on of how I use these boards for homeschool planning. I have a whole nother course that I designed on how to use homeschool or how to use Trello to plan your homeschool. But this is kind of a basic one that I refer back to at times. Again, you can see how I use basic category, make the list, dump information within the list, things like that, to keep track of all the different pieces that just don't need to live in my mind. Another favorite one is the chores board. This is one where I list out all the different chores that are not weekly. I have a weekly board that I use as like a master list for my week. That one has the stuff that I've got to do every week or every day. So this is more the stuff that's like monthly or quarterly or occasionally, just kind of as a reminder, oh yeah, I need to do that. I used to try to assign it to a particular month or part of the month or things like that, and mom life just kept happening and it just kept not working. And so what I've got now is sort of a rolling list. So I call it pulling from. I'm sure you could come up with some much more cute name, but what this simply means is this is the list. This is my main list, like all the things. And this is the list of, I haven't done these lately. So what I would do is I would add a list. Oh wait, I've already got one here. This week's chores. You can drag lists too. It's awesome. And then I would just pull from the things that need to be done. I do from the pulling from list, as you'll see there. And just pull over the things that I'm like, all right, yeah, it's time for that to happen. And I can just move it to the weekly list, and then I can divvy those up onto what days I want them to be on. And then the next time I come back to these lists, like for example, if I'm doing the cleaning the shower this week, then it's still on my master list here, but it's not on my pulling from list. So I'll be looking at this list when I come back to see what the next week's chores are going to be. Another board that I use on a regular basis is my upcoming list. So I actually have two of these because I have one for business and one for kind of the rest of mom life stuff. On my business one, I actually divide it up by week, but for this one, I usually divide it up by month. And I just put things that need to be done within that month on here. I mean, again, you can see stuff like it's trips, it's birthdays, it's house projects, it's, remembering to have a planning date. It's stuff that I want to remember in that month, but I don't want it to live on my brain, and I don't want to forget it either. And then again, what I do is when I go to plan my week, I would, in this case, actually copy this, and then I would move it. I'll show you. And I'll show you, I'm going to move it to my weekly board template. And then we'll look at the weekly board template, and there it is. So then I could move that to whatever day it was going to happen. So this is my weekly board list. This is where I pull kind of each week when I do my planning. You could, I'm sure, set up an automation or a rule to do this, but I like doing it manually. It's kind of, I think it's kind of equivalent to writing something down with paper and pen. It just helps it like stick in my head. So I like to move some of this stuff kind of manually, but I will put, I'll grab my meal plan for the week, I'll grab my chores for the week, I'll grab the list from the upcoming week, or for upcoming things, just any of those types of things, and then I dump them all in here, and then I drag and drop them onto what days I need to do certain things. And then I also have one at the end here that's just moved to next week, and so anything that I can't get done, whether I just have too many things, I'm like, there's no way, and I just go ahead and move it over there. Or as the week goes on, there's just things that need to be put off. I move them there. And then the next time when I plan my week, I move that list to the next week. Now, I put things on this template just for the sake of showing you that. But normally I would not, because this is actually my template. So it's not the one that I use to write my plan on. I actually copy this one each week. One similar. I'm on, again, a different iteration at this point, but this is my basic template. But I have a master, and then I copy that master, and then I work off of that. So I kind of have the master one, and then every week I copy, make another weekly board, dump all the things from the other boards into that one, and then arrange it onto what day I want to, or have a theory of doing things on that day. So that's just kind of some of my most commonly used boards. I've also got things like a business ideas parking lot. I have things like social media content board. These are more like business ones. I've got ones for networking and collaborations. Anything that you have to remember and keep on your mind, you can basically put it into one of these types of boards. I also have a board that's like a brain dump board. It's just literally like thoughts vomited onto a board that I can then arrange and move to other boards, and it's a way of kind of organizing my thoughts when there's just like too many thoughts to think. So if all of this seems like something you'd be interested in trying, check out mamashark.org/Trello, and there you can download several different free templates that I have for all sorts of organizing things, and they're all fully editable. They're all free. You can just check them out, play around with them, just make your own copies and go to town. So again, mamashark.org/Trello, and thank you so much for listening to this talk on Let's Talk Trello.